talking about ergonomy, like our host has rightly introduced at the beginning of this session. So ergonomy is fast gaining ground in the multidisciplinary field of occupational health and safety. Now, when we talk about ergonomy, we recognize the critical positions of man as the fulcrum on which work and productivity evolves, right? The concept of ergonomics is to find harmony between man, his work activities, and work environment. When we are discussing about ergonomy, like it has been described as, like ergonomy has been described as the technology of work activities and work design that considers the anatomy, physiology, and psychology of man as the basic factors, because all these things fall back on man and his health or wealth in his workplace environment. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Are we
We can hear you. Please go ahead. We can hear you.
Yes,
in the
I can hear you.
development of industry and commerce? Man had to work in artificial environments dictated by the nature of the activities and had to continuously try to adapt to the environment. As machine and tools technology appear on the industrial scene, man was again challenged to adapt to the use of these useful instruments. Ergonomics seek to design work, taking into consideration the basic elements of human anatomy, physiology, psychology for more comfortable and effective work activity in our workplace environment. So at the end of this training, we are expected to, the lessons that we are expected to learn from this is to identify the common work-related musculoskeletal disorders. 2 is to recognize risk factor associated with work-related MSTDs. With the acronym, we'll be able to understand what it means, musculoskeletal disorders. Now, another one is to identify ergonomic control methods for eliminating or inducing work-related disorders. Please, the host, Mr. Waliu, can you kindly help me share the slide? Let's move. Hello, is the host?
Thank you. I will do that right away. I was expecting to.
I can hear you. They don't tell anybody. They would hide inside room.
Please, I've done this slide. I'm sending this person out because we've already talked about this before. Please let us mute ourselves. We will be hearing background of people talking at the background. It's not fair. Let us mute ourselves when we come inside. You're distracting the trainer. Please, you can go ahead, please. I've worked on the slide.
Okay, give me slide 3. I'm part of the introductions too. You will see the graph that was shown. In this, you will see the level of disorders, injuries, and illnesses that occur when we are exposed to certain events or certain positions or conditions in our workplace. If you look at the slide, you will see the overexertions and bodily reaction. It has a higher in the graph there, meaning that this is one of the common things that we do in our workplace environment. If you look at slip trip, like slip trip and fall hazards too, it also has a very high column in that. Contact with objects and equipment has about 22.2%. You look at violence and other injuries, transport injuries, if you look at the risk on this, their risk is low. But these ones that has a bigger space in this graph shows that these are one of the common things. Their risks are high, their risk of occurrence, the chances of these things happening to us in our workplace environment is high. So we want to use this graph, to go through what. Hello, are we here? We want to
Yeah, we are
look
here.
at
We
this
can hear you.
diagram.
Just
Can hear
continue.
you. Continue, please.
We want to look at this diagram and use it to illustrate the discussions that we'll be having today. So I am open for learning, just like we all that are here. This course, for somebody who has been in health and safety over the years, it is not a new thing, but we are discussing this just to, refresh our memories, and then for the new HSC officers who are yet to understand what ergonomy means and how to go about it. This course is basically for you. So I'm sure we'll learn one or two and unlearn one or two again. Please, next slide. Next slide, please. The same illustration on this pie chart. So we may not want to dwell much on these ones. Looking at the musculoskeletal disorder incidents rated for the selected private sectors or industries, we have seen the highlight on the total, the highlight on the transportations and warehouse, healthcare and social assistance, art, entertainment, and recreations. We have a higher part in the transportation and warehouse because these are the major areas where we have hard work. Like we tend to see work that has to do with a repetition, hard work at height, twisting, bending, all those things, common things that expose us to these musculoskeletal disorders in our workplace environment are high in this transportation and warehouse area. So that is why it is more. If you look at the pie, you will see it's longer than every other ones there. So use it to look at the goods producing, agriculture, forestry, fishing, and the rest of them, construction, manufacturing, and every other one there. So as we move, musculoskeletal disorder in 2014 for all workers, there were 580 cases of musculoskeletal disorder, such as what has been highlighted already. So if you look at it, you will know that these are the common things you will face in our workplace environment, and it's a general thing. I think this course, everybody have the opportunity or have the right to discuss more on this with our workers, with our employees, employer, give them the reason why we should take this as one of our toolbox meeting or our safety talk weekly, because some people tend to overlook it because they see it as our regular duties and don't see the reason why we should swap or have a complementary work type of work, swap in work processes and the rest of them. Please, next slide. So I will urge each and every one of us at the end of this slide, take note of one or two things to discuss with your team and teach them how to carry out one or two exercises, how to reduce the job load so that all these pains and disorders that we likely get from this type of ergonomy in our workplace will reduce drastically. Now, this is the definition of ergonomy. Ergonomy is defined as a scientific discipline. Okay. Is defined as a scientific discipline concerned with understanding of interactions among human and other elements of a system, and the profession that applies theory, principle, method, and data to design in order to optimize human well-being and overall system performance. When I want to talk about ergonomy, it seeks more on the balance and equation through work designs that put the convenience and effectiveness of the worker in the front burner while not compromising his or her health or safety. A situation or design where everything we use in our workplace work in alignment with us so that we will be able to deliver our work safely without having any need, without having any pain, injury, or reason to complain about a certain thing in our workplace. Next slide. God. Please, who is handling the slides? Help me, or you give me a way to manage it. Next one, please. You already see what ergonomy means. Like thinking, ergonomy means fitting the job to the worker, including workstation, tools, equipment. Ergo equals to work, nomos equals to law. So here they are trying to tell you that the workstation has to fit with the job that each and every one of us are carrying. And it is a law that everybody should abide with, right? Next slide. Why is ergonomic important? If you go back to that graph that we discussed, overexertion leading cause of injury are mostly costly. They are most common, they are most costly. If you talk about overexertions, these are the recurrent or persistent pain which may develop in future when we have done a particular type of work over time. Bodily reaction is another leading cause, right? Another leading cause of injury in workplace. Repetitive motions also within top 10 most common workplace injury. So if you look at this, I think from that graph, we are able to discuss most of this, because what leads to workplace musculoskeletal disorder is a particular job which we have indulged in for over a period of time without changing it, or without having enough rest, without having to rotate workstations and have knowledge of other parts of jobs in our workplace environment, being positioned in a particular place for a long time, having to repeat a type of work. If it has to do with motion, having to repeat it over and over again, you see that you will develop a certain type of, or a certain level of pain in your body that sometimes some people will tell you, we are used to this and there is nothing we can do about this because this is what I've been doing for over 20 years. They don't see the reason to be going to the hospital, to be having some medical checks and taking their medications, looking out for ways to reduce these pains in their body or in their system, in their muscles. Some of these things occur, leading the capillaries, tendons, the muscles to be stiff and be in a particular position. If you look at some of these, for instance, I have a carpenter. I don't know, he's an artisan though, but he worked with me in one of my sites. I saw one of his hand bent one side. I asked him, sir, what happened to your hand? Why are you working with this hand like that? He said, nothing happened to this hand, that over time it developed because he has always been bending and using that hand in that position to work for a long time. And at a point, it started paining him, but before you know it, the pain relieved. But that hand has formed to be in that position. So I was like, why didn't you, when you noticed this, did you try to go for checkup, medical checkup? Did you try to stop for a period of time to go for muscle massage and the rest of them to gain, for at least for it to straight? He said, my daughter, please don't disturb yourself. These are what we have been doing over the years. We are used to this. So don't worry. This life is one life that he will eventually die. So does it change anything? I felt bad for him, but in his mind, he has already made up his mind that this is the life he chose and how he wants to live. And I don't think this is the best practice, but I think one of the reasons why this man has stationed his mind to accept this type of faith is because he didn't receive training early enough. There were no toolbox meetings, there were no trainings to highlight or cite on ergonomy, the need for him to be safe, the need for him to have a good body structure, the need for him not to have so much pain or disfigure in his workstation. If, for instance, there has been a training or admonition, toolbox meetings, and the rest of them that was delivered to this man when he started this job newly, I think he will value his life more and see the reasons to take care of himself and give himself some time to recuperate before he resumes his duty back again. Next slide. So these are the common work-related musculoskeletal disorders that affect the muscles, the nerve, blood vessels, ligaments, tendons. So some of the signs and symptoms are discomfort, pain, numbness, loss of motion and flexibility, just like what I narrated now. Spasticity, like muscle weakness. Muscle weakness is another related issues. Stiff joints, you can agree with me, some of us can agree with me that even while sitting down doing your work in your workplace, you will see that if you sit for more than 6 hours, you will notice that is either some part of your body has started receiving numbness or spasticity, muscle spasticity, or stiff joints. Some people will be like, I think I'm having waist pain. Maybe because you've been in a particular position for more than 30 minutes, for more than 1 hour, without having to stretch yourself or move around and all that. You start experiencing discomfort, pain, and all other signs and symptoms that is being highlighted here. Such other signs and symptoms are burning, swelling, tingling, inflammation, throbbing, and paralysis. So if you look at it, it started from the lowest to the highest. This comes in stage by stage, and over time, it becomes an incurable disorder, just like what I already narrated in the story that I put out here. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. So these are a continuation of the musculoskeletal disorders too. Carpal tunnel syndrome, tennis elbow, rotator cuff, neuritis, Raynaud syndrome, and trigger finger, thoracic outlet syndrome, epicondylitis, back strain and disorders, neck strains and disabilities, tensile disc, sciatica, and the Quivian, Ishmania, bursitis, and the rest of them. So most of all these things are English. We speak medical terms, we call out all these things. You can take time, Google some of these names and know exactly what they mean, because these are most of the things that we pass through daily. Some come psychologically, some come physical as a physical disorder, some come as a psychological disorder, while some come as an environmental psychological disorder. So these are different kinds of disorders that you can acquire through your skill in ergonomy, through your occupational workspace, and the rest of them. Next slide, please. So in all of these, for a better, for instance, in ergonomy, for better and in-depth study, like there are types of discipline, 2 types of discipline when we are talking about a discipline in ergonomy. Biology of work. This considers the contribution of anatomy and physiology of ergonomy. This covers the areas of the energy input, application of forces, posture and space management, climatic disorders, sense and organ, right? We also have psychology of work. sorry, this is not part of the slide though, but I'm trying to elaborate more on ergonomic discipline, right? Looking at the behavioral aspect of work and including such area as man and machine information. Work organization, work schedule, shift duties, fatigue, vigilance. However, it is not really easy to make clear-cut distinctions in a lot of areas. You understand? For example, an uncomfortable posture due to body size and difficult movement will lead to increased energy demand. Like when you are working at like if you have been in a steady position for over time, you will see that it will be demanding more energy for you to do a particular type of work because you have stressed yourself. The person looks tired, fatigued, and you can be mentally stressed at the same time. Of course, each of these can be studied in isolation, but the application has to be combined in all of this. So in this graph again, those common work-related musculoskeletal disorders that we highlighted were pointed out in this graph according to the high risk, the potential to which these things affect, or the high rate through which these affect us are drawn in this graph. Look at the bigger one, which is the upper extremities. It has 30.0%. Now, and you look at the lower extremities, this also is the next in the graph, 23.2%. Then you talk of the back, again, muscle parts, your head, and other parts of the body. The easiest place where we use in walking are our lower extremities, like you are using your hand, your limb, your arm to walk. So the pain that is, or the pressure that is exerted in these areas are higher, thereby causing more pain on these areas. Back to, if you have, let's say you are the type that carries a lot of load, or you are assigned to the areas, maybe in the warehouse, where we have a lot of load there, you will see that most of the time you push load from one end to the other. Even with the help of a trolley or mechanical gadget that is being used in the warehouse, you still see that some people at the end of the day, they still feel this pain. Why? Because some people have been exposed to this type of job for a long period of time without having rest. If you see yourself in some certain areas or certain type of work that requires high energy, all you need to do is just learn that you need to give yourself time for rest. If you have to work for 2 hours and rest for 15 minutes and come back and work for 2 hours again and rest for the next 15 minutes, or you alternate your duties. You do 2 hours, another person will come and do the other 2 hours while you go and have your rest and return to the work again. That way, we won't lose production or productivity, yet people will not suffer a lot of musculoskeletal disorder in their workplace due to their work-related, due to their work, the type of work that they do. So if you look at this chart, it shows a distribution of injuries and illness to the body parts due to musculoskeletal disorder using statistics from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So let's go to the next slide. Next slide. Hello, are we following? Are we there?
The thing is,
Now,
you need to pay.
Yes, we are with you. Go ahead.
Okay, looking at this media day away from work and incidence rate due to injuries and illness by event or exposure. These ones that are on green line, that's repetitive motion involving micro task. This has about 23%. The same goes by the fall to lower level. 19, overexertions and the bodily reaction. It is 13, but the effect on the body, that's days away from work, what it will cause, what it will lead. Looking at it, you will see it is 36. If you do not enforce trainings, toolbox, care, that's human welfare in these areas of work, you will see that the days that people will be away from work will be higher than the days they will be available for their duties. Looking at the pains that they are feeling or the reactions they are getting from the work that requires high energy. If you look at transportation incidents too, it has 12. Then at the rate of which people will be out of work is 6, because the risk associated with it is high or medium, let's say medium, you understand? So, and the fact that some people also like their type of work, driving is one of the work that somebody will want to be in because he wants to be moving around, getting to go to places and the rest of it. So even if you tell some people, some of the workers to stay out of work, go and check yourself, he will be finding reasons or an excuse to go out to the field and work. So the risk on this is at the medium stage, not high, not too low. The same goes with other ones like slip, trip, and fall, caught in or compressed by objects and equipment. These are, the risks are low. The risk of these things happening are low, depending on the kind of work area where you find yourself. This type of work-related injuries or incidents that we highlight here are majorly occurring in maybe manufacturing company, warehouses, processing or grinding areas, and the rest of them. But when we talk about musculoskeletal disorders or injuries associated in our workplace, we have the different types of injuries. For administrative offices, their own work-related injuries are there too. Example, for those ones that are exposed to visual monitor, like our screen, like the screen, you understand? These are some of the things you can find in administration. Maybe the size of the table, the length of the table, the type of seat or chair they are using in their workplace environment. It may not be suitable for them. The level of the seat and where the system is may be far or too close for whoever that is sitting or is using it at that point. So these things can react or can reflect on this person's health, causing some of them eye injury, causing some back pain, waist pain, then numbness, stiffness, and the rest of them, because there won't be, or maybe poor arrangement of seats in our workplace environment, right? This can cause some people to sit at a particular position for too long, which can lead to numbness and the rest of them. So if you look at these presentations too, you will also see the rates, the medium days away from work, or ownership median days goes to 9, days away from work rate or ownership rate 107. So you see that we have we have work to do in these areas. Looking at these common injuries that are related to our workplace environment, we have a lot of work to do in training and retraining, enforcing these the control measures on people, letting them know the reason why they should abide by these things, that it is for their own good. So next slide, please. Risk factors associated with MSDS. depends upon work position and postures, how often task is performed, level of required effort and duration of the task. Please, next slide. We've discussed this. Next slide, please. So these are some of the examples of the risk factors. If you're looking at the screen, you will see this, my fellow in the screen. He was trying to transfer that drum, that heavy drum that is filled with gasoline or any fluid. It could be filled with gasoline or any type of fluid, but he was trying to transfer it from one end to the other alone without having anybody helping him. You can see the pressure on his shoulder, the pressure on his legs, trying to force himself to lift that. He's exerting excessive force, trying to lift that heavy object alone, pushing and pulling heavy loads, manual pouring materials, maintaining control of equipment or tools, performing same or similar tasks repeatedly. So these are some of the things. Next slide, please. These are some of the things we have highlighted in the past. I believe that looking at some of these things that we are talking or we are seeing right now, it is a regular thing that we do. These are some of the regular things we face in our daily activities, in our daily work. Look at this one again, working in an awkward posture or same posture for a long period of time. Have you seen all these electrical or electricians in an electrical site trying to tight some knots or trying to fix one bulb or the other? And this will make them to be in that position. For instance, when they want to fix a light at a height, we see them using a ladder to climb. Yes, it could be that somebody is holding the ladder for them, which is also one of the safety measures. But them staying, looking up, positioning their two hands, that's the two limb, up there, trying to hold the bulb with one hand, using the other hand with the screwdriver to screw the nuts. And if it is in a case whereby some of these things fall off, maybe the nut falls and somebody tries to pick it for them, you see that particular electrician staying in that position for more than 10 minutes, 15 minutes, trying to fix that particular type of work, right? This is one of the common things we experience in our workplace. We regard this as a prolonged or repetitive reaching above shoulder height, kneeling, squatting, leaning over a counter or bending for those that are working in supermarkets, trying to set their products and goods in the shelves at the supermarket. So some of these people, you see them kneeling, bending, they will be twisted in one position, trying to set all these things. Some will use all these two-step ladder to stand and be there. And you look at them, some of them, even if you ask them questions, just like I already told you, they will tell you that they are used to it. But I still say it, and I still tell people, and I still tell myself that there is no position that will put me in pain that I will ever glorify. Like, I can never be happy with pain. I can never be happy with stress. No matter how much exposure I am trying to gain, or maybe how much money I am trying to make in that type of work, the fact that it exposes me to too much stress, too much pain, I won't be able to stand, because it's going to tell on my emotional and my mental state too. And the moment an individual's mental state is tampered, his or her work output will be zero or low. And this type of people, they are not productive. They won't, you start seeing them falling back, not being bright. A good HR or a good supervisor who employs person or who started working with somebody in the first place knows how how good or how bright this person is. And all of a sudden, this same person's out or input or output has started diminishing. You try to look into what he has been doing that is exposing him or that is making him not to deliver well the way he has been doing. You can engage them in discussion. Hello, Mr. Kinsley, how are you? I noticed that you've not been doing so fine lately. What is happening? How has it been going so far? You may be lucky enough for him to open up or for her to open up and tell you, ma, I don't think that I am feeling too well. Maybe I'm having eye problem, waist pain or back pain or a hand pain. In that process, you'll be able to ask, okay, why? Since when did you start noticing this? What have you done ever since then? Do you think is due to this work that you do that is making you or that is exposing you to this type of stress and pain, right? From these questions, you will be able to know if it is job related that is putting him through this stress and the rest of them, and then we can think of the common way to help the person. Next slide, please. So another one is cold temperature. In combination with vibration, body vibration for those people that use electrical equipment like vibrating machines, like a concrete machine that you use to break the concrete. These are whole body vibration. Hand arm machines like the cutter and lawn machine that they use in cutting the lawn. Some of these things have vibrating system. And after vibration, for those people that are going to be using it for the first time, you see that they will develop some disorders and the rest of them. Then for cold temperatures, some of us are exposed to this in our offices too, where we have ACs and the rest of them, but with the control of the ACs and probably switching it off at a time and then switching it on back later when you think you need it back again, can still do. Next slide, please. Then method of control, how to control ergonomics. Method of protecting against MSDs are establishing ergonomic programs, such like training, feedback from all levels. Like we already say, we cannot overemphasize on training and retraining. Then enforcing, getting feedback after training too is a very important thing. Then like you take time to monitor your team, go around your workstation, monitor your workers, look at the way they have been working for a period of 10 to 15 minutes and see if this person is going to alternate his work position and the rest of them. Ask them questions, conduct job hazard analysis, early recognition and reporting of potential MSD. Then when you conduct JHA, if there is any feedback you get, these are the ways or the methods through which you can review your policies in your workplace to combine or to adopt the new controls that you've put in place to help the workers to do their work effectively. Next slide. Next slide. So this is an example of JHA. Next slide, please. We all know how to develop this JHA, right? So that's an example. You can take your time, go through it. I will search for other presentations, other slides from other people to look at the way they do. JHA method differs from the other according to organization that you're working with. So some of the control measures, we know now the normal control measures we have in health and safety. which are elimination method, administrative method, engineering method, and then maybe last resort, which is the use of PPE. In an example of this engineering control, you have a workstation design and setup. There are ways you design a particular thing so that it will suit the worker. For example, some people that are using cutlass to cut the grass. Now, if you look at the way they bend and the side effect of bending and using cutlass and the rest of them flying, flying grasses could enter the eyes and the rest of, you now devise a means of getting a long cutter machine, is a hand machine, which will enable the user to stand up while using it, then get the person a face mask, which will protect his or her face while carrying out his duty to prevent flying objects from entering his or her eyes, thereby reducing the time of work or leading to injury or long-term, lost time injury, lost time effect or medical case, as the case may be. So another type of engineering control is also ergonomical design, equipment load, weight reduction, like the use of trolley, use of hoist to move heavy loads from from one height to the other, instead of letting human beings to climb a ladder and transload one heavy equipment from one end to the other. You use a hoist to do this transfer. So these are regarded as engineering control. Next slide, please. Next slide. So it also goes on and on. Example of proper work practice. If you look at the way they show us in the picture of how to lift our load, proper lifting techniques. If you look at it, it shows you the method. I'm sure that some of us who has undergone through NEBOSH training would have also learned this, or who have had other type of IOSH or health and safety related trainings too, would have learned how to lift objects. If you have learned it too, endeavor to teach your team or your colleagues who you think that do not have the knowledge of how to carry out this work. Proper lifting techniques: team lift heavy, bulky, awkward load, stretch, work rotation, task variety, increase, rest, break. These are the examples of proper work practice. You are expected to use a proper lifting technique, then team lifting, get one or two people to join you to lift load if you think it's heavy, stretch if you need to stretch. Maybe when you have carried one load from one point to the other, you drop it and stretch yourself before you start carrying your load again. Rotate workstations, like you don't have to be at a particular type of workstation for overtime. You have the opportunity to work in production today. The next day you work in packaging. The next day you work in admin. This way, you will be able to learn the hazard related to each and every work positions. Then draft out the common or the easiest control measures to stop or to either eliminate or reduce these effects on people on our work in our workplace environment. Next slide, please. So another example is the use of PPE, like we already highlighted. They gave us some of the types of PPEs that we'll be needing to support our workplace environment, to reduce some of the effects and the hazards associated in each type of task or job. Example is gripping glove, knee pads, vibration gloves, terminal glove, lifting straps, shoulder harness, lifting braces. If you look at the pictures, they showed some of the of these things that were highlighted. And I'm sure that we've come in contact with some of these in our workplace. Oftentimes, our employer tend to say that the money to use and buy all these things are not part of the thing mapped out. But like we always say, safety first. We want to take safety serious because, yeah, my colleague once told me that safety does not generate money. Safety does not generate money, but it reduces the risk of injury. It reduces the risk of damage, accident, or incident that occurs in our workplace. So these are the things that we put to our employer when they are trying to make our. So these are the things that we put to our employer when they are trying to make this work difficult or argue over the fact that there won't be need for them to get these things, these PPEs for us. Tell them the importance and the benefit of getting these things at hand and how it's going to control this hazard, how it's going to reduce injury, and how it's going to control this hazard, how it's going to reduce injury. Next slide, please. Next slide. So I think we've almost exhausted this because we've discussed more about this physical ergonomic hazard. We've almost exhausted this because we've discussed more about this. The head or shoulder this is a hazard. Then they pointed the under walking with the hands above head for more than 2 hours per day. When you look at this now, if you walk above your shoulder or above your head at a particular place for over 2 hours, it is regarded as a hazard and you need to put up a control measures, which is limiting the time of exposure to this. Next slide. Please, let's be fast here. So if you look at this, walking with the elbows above shoulder for more than 2 hours per day, you are expected, next slide, you are expected to reduce the time of exposure to this. They now told you here the solution, reaching above the solution is keep items within close reach, elevate work areas. You don't need to, if you know that there is a way to reduce the height of whatever that is making you to climb or raise your hand above your shoulder or above your head, if there is a means for you to bring this lower or in the middle, devise that means so that you will reduce the hazard of raising hand at height or more than your head and shoulder level for over a period of time. Of course, you cannot come to your workplace and tell them that you don't want to stop, that you want to rest, you keep resting and the rest of them. But if you have to get an alternative, advise them, tell them about the engineering method, tell them about devising another measure, another means to make this job less or to make the hazard or exposure to this hazard lesser. I'm sure that if you bring up a good suggestion, they will look at it. The only thing is it might take time for it to be implemented, but it will still come. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide. Awkward, next slide. Awkward, sorry, go back. I think we've even discussed about this. Awkward body posture, walking with the neck or back bent forward more than 30% for, that's angle, 30-degree for more than 2 hours per day. Even myself, I am also part of the people that can stay in this position for more than 2 hours. But because I know this, I'm starting to help myself by like after 2 hours or 3 hours, I will stand up, walk around, stretch myself, stretch my arms and my limbs, go around, squats, come down, bend, and the rest of them, just so I can relieve my muscles and ease the exertion of pressure that comes with staying at a particular posture for more than 2 hours or for a long period of time. Next slide, please. Next. So we already talked about this squatting for more than 2 hours. So basically, all of them have a similar control measures to them. Like we already discussed, whoever that is squatting, you can take your time. When you squat for more than 15 minutes, you stand up, you go back, you stand up, rest, stretch for 2 minutes, you go back to your work again and do this. With this, it will help your muscle to not get stiff, to not get numb, to not develop muscle pull or muscle spasm and the rest of them. Next slide. The same applicable to kneeling too. Next slide. Awkward body posture. Okay. Raise and or tilt the work for better access. Use a stool for ground level work. Okay, you can look at this now. Look at this video. Look at this graph. They told you that for some awkward body posture, you are required to raise or tilt the work for better access. Look at the other man that tilted this basket. He was trying to walk. Normally, he would have gone bent in trying to sort out all those things, all those chemicals or whatever it may be that he's trying to sort out in that basket. But because he values his ergonomy, he doesn't want to develop musculoskeletal issues, and there is plan for workplace, plan to avert workplace ergonomic the ergonomics, right? That's musculoskeletal disorders. They were able to provide him with this that helped him to tilt it. So while he's standing, it's easier for him to sort out whatever he's sorting. The only thing now that he will need to adopt here again is the period of time he is exposed standing while sorting this out, right? He has averted the bending in it. Another one that is waiting for him now is standing. His legs might be aching him. So if he walks or stand there for 30 minutes to 1 hour, he can have rest, or he can alternate with another person, or go and do another walk that doesn't require him to stand. He can also bend the basket and get a stool and sit down while sorting. If you look at the 3 of them too, they showed us the picture of how to make it easier for us by using stool to come to a level, ground level, a level where you'll be able to handle the loads or lift the loads and the rest of them. Next slide. So for the awkward position, they told us that we should use tools with longer handle, like we narrated at the story I told about the person that uses a lawn machine to cut grass. So if you look at this picture, it gave us the example of the type of, or insight on the type of equipment to use and how people should also carry out their duties and alternate between bending, kneeling, sitting, and squatting at the same time to ease the muscles and to help us do our work effectively. Next slide. Now, awkward gripping. This is a hazard. Gripping 10 or more pounds or force for 2 or more hours per day. If you look at this picture, for instance, now, people that pack what is it called? All these artisans that lay blocks and those ones that pack blocks in our construction sites, majorly, or in a manufacturing company where you have to pack out some products from like pouches, cartons, and the rest of them from one warehouse to maybe production room and the rest of them. So you will now want to grip 10 pieces of carton at once and lift it, or carry 2 pounds of weight of buckets, let's say gallon, all these 20 liters gallon. You want to lift it with your hand instead of carrying it on your head, because it will reduce the pressure and also reduce the pain. You want to carry it on your hand to walk a distance, at least about 20 steps. You see that you are pressuring your arm. After lifting that 20 liters of water or oil without stopping to rest, you see that by the time you get to where you are dropping it, you will have to stretch your hand. You will notice that your muscles are paining you at that time, or that they are weak, or that they are tingling, or they are stiff, especially for people that have not been doing that type of work before, or people that have been doing it, but over time they stopped and then they went back to that work. They are the people that easily develops some of this musculoskeletal disorder easily. Next slide. So we want to tell you that awkward gripping of this object that was highlighted are hazardous, and you are expected to reduce the volume. You are also expected to alternate. You are also expected to do to rest. While you are doing it, you rest and continue again. Next slide. Look at the solution. They said we should design work layout to reduce hand carrying, reduce amount of items carried at one time, use non-pinch grip posture, use ergonomically designed tools or aid, use job or task rotation. They also designed it for us. In C-shape posture, you should rotate your job instead of using hand, or instead of carrying equipment, you should devise a means of getting maybe trolley to push, or getting a crane, a mini crane, mini warehouse crane to lift one thing, or something that has to do with more than 2 pounds, or the rest, to carry it from one place to the other. Just find a way not to exert so much pressure on yourself or on your team while trying to deliver their task. Next slide. Repetition motion is a hazard. We already know this. Repeating the same motion for more than 2 hours per day with hand, wrist, elbow, shoulder, or neck is regarded as a hazard. Next slide. Next slide, please. So some of it is intense keying for more than 4 hours per day. For those that type a lot, for those that work in a site, you have to be exposed to, because that site is your work area. You are doing that job maybe for more than 3 months. So you see that you'll be relatively open or exposed to a particular type of hazard in the same area, the same. You come to work, do toolbox meeting, go up, change to your PPE, go to the site, look at what they are doing, you climb upstairs, you bring load down. So repetitive job, it gets tiring. Ordinarily, apart from the fact that it does a lot of harm to our health, repetitive type of job gets tiring at a time. You'll be doing a particular type of job for more than 6 months. You will see that sometimes you start losing interest in it, because overly you have exploited the knowledge. You have taken advantage of every information, skills, or knowledge that you need to know in that area. So you will need to be changed to another department for you to experience new things, for you to learn new things. That way, you will be motivated again. You will be encouraged again to start learning new hazard, to start learning new control measures too. Next slide. Okay. So look at the solution for repetitive motion. Arrange work to avoid unnecessary motions. Let power tools and machinery do the work. Spread repetitive work out during the day. Take stretch, pauses. Rotate tasks with co-workers if possible. Change hands or motion frequently. You are seeing the diagram. You see how they want you to exercise yourself. Some of the ways to exercise your tendons, your arms, your finger, that's your extremities, and the rest of them. The ways you're expected to at least sit. Some of these small or minor stretches to do to ease off and relieve yourself from some disorders. Next slide, please. Localize pressure or body parts. Pressing the body part or part of the body against hard or sharp edge. Standing or kneeling for prolonged period on hard surface, using tools with hard handling surface or short handlings. For instance, I don't know, we have, if you look at this, I think this is self-explanatory. This hazard now, localized pressure on body parts, is self-explanatory. Looking at our job areas or some of the job activities that we carry out, you see that some designs of our workstations, maybe our table, our seats, are not suitable for us, thereby forcing us to use a particular type of method which will expose us to pressure. Look at this example that they gave us for this man that is pressing the keyboard. That is an edge of the table, but because the table design was not made to, enter his hand, he was forced to use his to press down that part of his arm on that edge. You see that at the end of the day, he will start feeling pain. The muscle will be tingling because he has pressed down that part for a long period of time when trying to walk. And these are commonly unnoticed hazards self. Because sometimes your part of body, you will be paining you. You'll be like, I don't know what I did that my body is paining me. Why is my body paining me? I don't even know what I do or what I did that has exposed me to this type of injury and the rest of them. But if you look closely, you understand that it is either the design of your chair or the design of your table or the design of your laptop or your machine, packing machine, or whatever thing that you do is what is not suitable for you, but you didn't take note of it because you have seen chair, you've seen seat, you've seen desk, you've seen table, you feel everything is okay. You start using it without knowing some of the unsafe conditions that is attached to this poorly designed equipment in our workplace environment. Next slide. The same applicable to this. We are still on localized pressure too. If you look at this, these are some of the examples of the things that we just said now. Next slide. Okay, so the solution, what they told us to use tools with longer handle, use tools with padded grips, alternate between bending, kneeling, sitting, the same thing. Like for that desk or locker, if it has a sharp edge, we should devise a pad, get a pad to stick on that edge where it's sharp, so to avoid that pressure that comes from pressing down our hand in trying to use the keyboard, for instance, in that area. Now, this, you narrow it to the type of work you do. Look at or look for anything you use. Like, okay, I was opportuned to audit some financial institutes, and some of them, their staircase do not have a grip, because normally there is usually a grip, so that, you know, most of them are tied staircase. There are type of shoe, if you're wearing shoe that doesn't have grip, or if you're on high heel and you don't know your environment well, you can easily trip, slip, and fall in this type of staircase. But with the help of a grip at the edge of these staircases, it can save anybody who wants to slide or slip through the staircase for a starting period. Like, if you have to slide through the staircase from the beginning to the end, with the help of the grip, the person can stop halfway without having to get to the end and sustain major injury at that, right? So let us look at some of these hazards and their solutions, and get some of our equipment to control them, like engineering method. Let's use an engineering method, use administrative method, elimination method too, and the use of PPE to control these hazards in our workplace and promote the health of our workers in our workplace environment. Next slide. Next slide, please. Next slide. So lifting objects, this is a hazard. When you are lifting more than 75 lbs once a day, 55 lbs 10 times a day, 10 lbs more than twice or minutes, or for more than 2 hours a day, 25 lbs above shoulder, below knee, or at arm length more than 25 times a day. So these are the sample for this man that is carrying a cylinder, or somebody working in warehouse that carries 50 bags, 50 kg of rice, 50 kg of turmeric, 50 kg. And you see some of them, they will carry this 50 kg bag. 50 bags. That is, one bag is 50 kg, and they will carry 50 bags. That's about 500 kg or thereabout, or a bit or more, if you calculate it. This is the level of pressure somebody is exerting on himself, and this will affect the back, affect the extremities, the limb, the waist. In fact, in some cases, you will see that it will even affect the total body. This person's mental health has been tampered too, because he doesn't even see the reason why he should reduce the number or the quantity of bag he or she carries at a time. He has been programmed. He has programmed his mind that if he's not able to carry up to 50 bags, his salary will not come, or his stipend or his wage will not come complete. They will deduct his money because he was not able to meet up with the targets, right? So let's find a way to spread the news of ergonomy in our society. Anywhere you see yourself, anywhere you find yourself, try to talk to people, tell them what they are doing that is wrong, or how it is going to affect their health in a long run, because it might not happen now that they are young. It will be developing before this person does that particular type of job for like 20, 25 years. The person will be down with one syndrome, one disorder, or one illness that will lead to his grave or her grave over time. Next slide. Next slide. So these are common example of lifting objects: heavy frequency, that's heavy object or heavy weights, frequencies, and awkward lifting. Next slide. Next. So the solutions are this: managing for safer lifting. You plan your lifting. Plan your lifting. Minimize lifting distances. Position materials to power zone level. Avoid manual lifting or lowering load to and fro floor. Identify or reduce unstable or heavy loads. Reduce frequency of lifting and duration of lifting tasks. Provide clear access. These are the solutions. Next slide. Next slide. So employee, okay, fine. If you look employee guidelines for safer lifting, they already told you about, and we already discussed it over time, stretching. You stretch before lifting. Now, this one they are telling you is not during the lifting. Now, before, it is one of the steps. Before you start lifting any object, you need to stretch, gain energy, gain strength, devise a means, a proper way to lift this object. Check for tags or loads, test load for stability and weight, check if this load, if you can be able to carry it, check if there are sharp edges that when lifting, they will cut you or they will cause you injury. Check that this load is not going to be exerting pressure on you, or that is not the load that you are going to be doing for a very long period of time. Use proper lifting techniques, like we already discussed in the past slide. You will see where the picture where they showed us how to do a proper lifting there. Then use your grip with 2 hands, smooth, even motion. Come close to the load. You understand? Get your legs to push up. Like if you go to the picture, you will see this demonstration, these things that they are talking now has been displayed in that picture. If you go through the slide from where we started, these are how to avoid twisting, alternate less physically demanding tasks, rest, break. There should be rest break. When you do something and you're tired, rest. If you have a break, normally, of course, we are giving breaks in our job areas. When it is time for your break time, make sure you take your break. And you as a supervisor, you as a safety person on site, when you are working with some of these artisans, some of them can be very stubborn at times. They will tell you, Oga, forget this thing. I want to do this work and come out from this site. I won't go do another job somewhere else. I don't want to take break. I want to do this work straight and finish sharp and go. You understand? You tell them no. You tell them the importance of having a rest, taking a break, and coming back to duty, that it is for their own good. And then again, for them to re-strategize, gain more energy, and then be more efficient when doing that job at that time. Lifting solution. Lifting, the solution, use proper lifting techniques. We have already talked about it. Next slide. Keep the load close to the body. That's it. The direction of the lifting positions. Later you go through the slide, read it, lean the sack onto your kneeling leg, slide the sack up onto your kneeling leg. These are the pictorials for you to know how to do it and for you to know how to teach your colleagues or your people on site how to lift this. Then vibration. Vibration is a hazard. We all know that. We have types of stages of vibration: moderate, high, and prolonged. Moderate is more than 2 hours per day. When you are exposed to vibration for more than 2 hours per day, is regarded as moderate. When you are exposed to vibration more than 30 minutes per day, it's regarded as high. Then prolonged is you have gone beyond 6 hours. So these are high risk jobs, and it is a hazard. Next slide. And some of these things, the common things that can cause these vibrations are for those that are driving trucks. You know now, if you enter all these our Mac, all these truck, if you are inside there, the energy to which these people turn the gear and how this motor will be doing, it will be vibrating. Even you said that is not the driver in there, you will be shaking, you will be jerking inside that motor. That is to tell you the level of vibration that is being emitted in that job. If you look at all these dormer, those people that cut tree in the bush, you see that those things has vibration. Our cutting machines, all these lawn machines and the rest of them, and all these electrical tools and equipment, you know, most of them, they have vibration, all of them, but it depends on the level, if it is medium, if it is high, if it is a prolonged one. But the level of exposure to these things determine the hazard or the disorders or illnesses that they can cause to our health. Now, environmental ergonomic hazard. To amplify or increase risk of MS, that is musculoskeletal disorders. As example, hot weather, cold weather that affect workers' conditions, high temperature indoor, steam room and the rest of them, cold temperature indoors, work in freezers, and for those that are working in the freezers, when we talk of high temperature, those that are working in the steam room, then those that are even working in packaging room, not packaging room, there are grinding room, you understand? So there are things you don't put in the grinding room so that it doesn't cause the particles to be flying everywhere, right? So it will make that place to be hot or heated up in some cases, low visibilities and the rest of them. So these are the some of the common risk that increases musculoskeletal disorders in our workplace. Please, next slide. Next. Hello. Are we following? Am I communicating? Hello?
Yes, we are following.
Next slide, please.
Yes, we are with you. I've next it to the next one. Should I next it again? I've next it. Should I next it again?
No, it's okay. This is So for employee and employer's requirements, report signs or symptoms. Like you are expected to report every signs and symptoms. When you start having pain, persistent pain or severe or worsening pain, you need to report. When you know that you are exposed to vibration or radiation too, you need to report. Over time, when you start a work initially, you may still not understand, you may still not notice it. But the moment you notice that, I think I'm exposed to this for a long period of time, I'm developing this, I'm developing that, you do well to bring it up, call the attention of your supervisor. Please, though, you need to devise a means to reduce the radiation of this equipment or to reduce the exposure or the length of time that you spent in that type of work. Symptoms like numbness and tingling. When you start feeling numbness and tingling, you report too. When you start symptoms like you keep sleeping at night instead of doing your work, for those that does night duties, you come to your work site, you find yourself weak, weak, tired, fatigue, you report. When you have a finger blanch and your finger is turning white, you report. These are the easiest way to curb workplace or work-related musculoskeletal disorders. If you don't report, your supervisor or whoever that is working with will not know. But once you report, it will be in record that there has been a report of so, and so, maybe vibration or exposure to cold, exposure to heat in this type of area. In case if there is any illness that occurs tomorrow, it will be easier to trace to the cold weather or to whatever thing that you have been exposed to, because you have taking time to report initially when you were exposed to it. Next slide. Then these are some of the symptoms too that you need to report. If you look at the type of job that you're giving and you think is heavy or you may not be able to do it, you report, you notify your supervisor, or you can come up with solutions like we already said, work with the solutions that you come up with, take part in trainings, take responsibilities for changing the way you do your job, help to make sure efforts are successful. Next slide. Some of these things we have already pointed them out too. So ergonomy can help you on your job. Workplace or work-related musculoskeletal disorders can help in job with risk factors. Risk factors can be reduced and work-related musculoskeletal disorders prevented. Reporting, these are the key 5 points to remember in this training. At the end of this training, you should be able to remember that ergonomic can help you on your job, and that work-related musculoskeletal disorders can help in jobs with risk factors. Then some risk factors can be reduced, and then some of these work-related Msds can also be prevented. Then when you report signs and symptoms early, it is very important because it will help in control or management of these hazards. If you can help your company by putting ergonomics change into places like we already highlighted. You also have right to save yourself in your workplace. So it is also your duty and your right to devise or find any control measures or any way to help in reducing these musculoskeletal disorders in our workplace to improve our ergonomy. Next slide. So we're supposed to have a video on the type of ergonomy exercise to practice here. I think this is the end of the slide. Normally, if I'm having a physical class, we are supposed to have some tests to get feedback to see if what we trained on, we are understood. So I think the host, Mr. Waliu, were you able to access the video? If you're able to access the video.
Because of time, the time is fast spent. Because of time, we should continue. Since you showed us some postures and the likes,
exactly.
we can go ahead, please.
All right. So I think we have come to the last part. As health and safety issues at workplace at our workplace, we extend beyond accident and exposures to hazard substances. Work, you understand, when we work physically, we assume that our ergonomy is greater prominence. At the inception of every industry or every management revolution, man generally was made to adapt to the machine system. This has been to the detriment of the health and safety of the workers. Now, ergonomics seeks to be balanced the equation through work designs that put the convenience and effectiveness of the worker in the front burner, while not compromising his or her health and safety. So I want to come to the end of this slide today and to thank you all for taking your time to stay with me and listen to me through this slide. I'll urge each and every one of us to, for those that are new HSE people or new HSE officers that are with us here, go through this slide. I'm sure you will learn one or two things that you don't know. Those that have been in this system that know this, I believe that I was able to recall your mind to some certain things that we've forgotten over time. So I want us to go back to our slate, go back to our activities and review some certain things to fit to our workplace activities in order to reduce work-related musculoskeletal disorders in our workplace environment and improve ergonomy generally. Thank you. Once again, I'm still yours truly, safety specialist Atwanya Juliana. Currently, I am working, or I'm trying to develop my own company. I'm working in collaboration with Flame Point Nigeria Limited. We are into everything that has to do with firefighting and security. So if you have any need for any of our equipment or our gadget, I will share our company's profile with Mr. Waliu later, not here or now. You will help me to disseminate it in case anybody will have need to purchase from us. We are open to business and to learning and the rest of them. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Waliu, for giving me this opportunity. I really appreciate.
Yes, thank you very much. Even though you did not pay for advert and you're advertising your company,
I am sorry.
We are going to sue you for that, and you're going to pay for charges. It's fine. It's fine. It's not an issue. We our prayer is, and our striving is for us to grow together. The sky is very wide for every bird to fly successfully. So it's not an issue. If you send it to me, those are interested, I will send it to them. It's a good thing. Yes, we are answering the question. Before I go to the summary of the training and other things we have to say, we really appreciate everyone who has taken their time to join us. We have many safety experts with us. I can see Mr. Wale Bakare join us. Yes, Mr. Please don't beat her. Please don't beat her or don't beat him. Mr. Kola Wale Ayola. I could see Mr. Ijiro, also Mr. Alfred Ajao, and other top professionals. Mr. Udonsi have been trying to join. He tried joining so many times due to network issues from his side. Yes, we appreciate everyone's presence. Oh, we still have the slide. We still answering questions from the slide. So let me continue. So let us look at the next question. Please let us respond in the comment section. Which of the following is an example of economic risk factor? Yes, the answer is repetition. Yes, the next question says, economic hazard can be prevented or reduced by which of the following control measures? Engineering control, engineering control, B, proper work practices, C, personal protective equipment, D, all of the above. Yeah, let us see our response. Let us respond on the comment section. Okay, we are having A, D. Some are saying A, D, B. B, is it D, all of the above, or B, proper stuff, proper work practices? Is it A? There's some are saying A, some are saying D. We're having more of D. More of D's in the house. Okay, we're having more D's in the house. Some are saying A, D, B. So what is the answer? Let us see. Let us see what the answer is. All of the to economic hazard can be prevented by prevented or reduced by which of the following? By everything, by X. So the answer is D. Is there a next question? Okay. Thank you very much. Talking about our facilitator mentioned about JHA. There was a slide that he mentioned. She mentioned JHA, and she could not because of time and because we believe that some of us should know about JHA. Then we skipped it. But if you want to learn more about JHA, get it available on our YouTube channel. Just scroll down, search for job hazard analysis. You will see I think more than 1 hour intensive training on job hazard analysis. You will see it there, and we really delivered the training, and people really enjoyed it. So you can go there and watch the training on JHA, on job hazard analysis or job safety analysis. Yes, talking about training for today. So people, please kindly mute yourself. Some people take less concentration when it comes to ergonomics, and it is because they see it as less significant. And I'll use that, and I'll use the analogy of Bruce Lee because I'm into martial art. I'm a martial artist. So Bruce Lee said that he fears someone who does one kick. He fears someone who repeats one kick several times. who repeats one kick a million times, who repeats one kick a million times, than someone who will kick once, but an heavy kick. That he fears that person, he fears a kick that is practiced 1 million times than 1 million kicks practiced one time. Meaning that you don't need to practice flying kick, we call it up chage, we call it dual chage, no matter the chage that you are practicing, flying kick, front kick, back kick. It is broadly said he fears someone who has only one kick, but practice that kick 1 million times. Where am I going to? There are some hazards, there are some risk factors that are very little, that we see as it is little. But when we take less focus at them, it has serious consequences. It leads to serious consequences if we do not attend to them. And that is why they become very significant and very important for us to address issue of ergonomics. Little are they, but they lead to bigger consequences. When you look at my trainer talk about the effect, we have short-term effect, we have long-term effect. In fact, they even lead to secondary accidents. Someone who is walking in a bad posture, maybe for example, is walking in an uncomfortable manner, is walking in a position that is not comfortable. Like she showed us an example of someone who is trying to lift an item, or who is trying to roll a drum that contains petrol, diesel, or whatever flammable. If because he's using poor poor work structure or poor work procedure, that drum can fall down and it can spill to the floor and it can meet any item that can ignite and can lead to fire. Someone working poorly in a poor condition is not only the long-term effect. That poor working condition can lead, there's a higher probability of having an accident happening due to the what? Due to the poor work procedure. So there are so many things she discussed about. For those who came late, she discussed so many things about ergonomics. She talked about intense pressure and localized pressure on the body part, on when you feel uncomfortable while doing a work. The uncomfortability can be due to heat, due to temperature difference, due to extreme temperatures. It can be due to longer durations. It can be due to awkward positions. She mentioned so many factors that could lead to poor ergonomic practice. She talked about vibration and understanding the physical procedures to address ergonomics. And she also talked about, like I mentioned the other time, short-term effect and long-term effect of ergonomics. So in the long-term effect, we're talking about the human factor. You don't want someone who, because he was working, and this applies sometimes in the construction industry, when people get exposed to poor working conditions. For example, if you look at some welders, at the end of the day, at the age of 20, 30, 40, when they're supposed to be relaxing and enjoying the fruit of all their labor, they will start using money to look for how to cure cataract because of the exposure to the lights, to the extreme light that comes from welding operation. Because of their poor posture, you see them bending, they get old quicker because of poor ergonomic practice. So it is human, as part of the quality of health and safety professional, it is human, being an humanity force, for us to consider the long-term effect of exposures to various hazards when it comes to poor ergonomic practices. So she mentioned all these too, and like I said earlier, there's higher probability of having accident happening. So there are so many things that she discussed about. I've talked about falling of the worker, imbalance, reduced concentration. Even when you are working, when the worker is working with poor ergonomic consideration, there is reduced concentration because he or she is trying to manage himself in that condition, try to force himself into that condition, and there's lower concentration. And when there's lower concentration, there's higher stress level and there's low productivity. So it has a long way that is spanned across every aspect of health and safety. Like I said earlier, they might look little ergonomics, but when you look at the accumulated effect on the long term, it can lead to accident, which can lead to the company being shut down because of poor ergonomic practice that have led to stress or other conditions, reduced concentration that can lead to accident. And it can also lead to long-term effect on the individual who got exposed to this poor working condition. And in some countries, such person can find the company because that because I was working in your company, this is what has led me to. I've been exposed to fumes, I've been exposed to to poor working condition. My eyes are now bad, I can't see clearly. He can sue or she can sue a company because of poor ergonomic practice. So it has a long way to go. There is reduced productivity, and morally, it is moral, like you said, it is human for us to look at every aspect of safety in our workplace. We shouldn't say that as safety professionals, as safety experts, because someone is not falling from height or because someone is not getting burned or there's no fire, then that is all. No, we need to look into the human factor of health and safety and look at how it will improve the overall productivity and the business value of our organization. And these what is embedded in what I just said are what she has expanded it all through the 1.5 hours that she used, and it was really an interesting and enlightening section. If you have any question, please kindly raise up your hand. We appreciate the presence of everyone that's joined us. We've mentioned so many names: Mr. Wale, Mr. Adewale, Danielsla. I think she joins us every time, I think from another part of the country, of the continent. Mr. Dario Alfred, Mr. Nobanjo, I can't keep mentioning names. Ola Gold Baki, I see you. Thank you for coming. Mr. Clement, Maoga, thank you for coming. Mr. Malakai, you've been here from the beginning, and every other person, Mr. Muhammad Kazim, Mr. Muhammad, I've been seeing you every time. Mr. Ejiro, Mr. Mohamed Sabo, I think we've been having things like 3 Muhammad here. Thank you for always joining us. Next week again, we are having our guy. I won't disclose him. Our guy, yes, he's right here with us. He's going to educate us next week again. Is going to educate us again next week, Mr. Ademo Gabriel. Thank you. I think you came in first. You deserve a gift, Mr. Ademo Gabriel. You came in first. I almost mentioned the name. My guy is going to train us and educate us next week on another episode, Safety Enlightening Moment, live webinar section that we shall educate. We shall be educated by this our safety experts next week by God's grace, same time, 5 p.m. Let's make sure we come early and also invite others to join us. And we shall also be introducing another section of safety moment that is safety podcast. We've been doing that before. We have an application. You can go to YouTube. You can go to what's it called? You can go to Play Store and download the app Podbean. Yeah, download the app Podbean. We are there. We used to use it before for safety podcast. We are going back to it now. And why are we doing this? We observe that we've been having higher number of professionals joining in, and there are a lot of issues that we discuss. So Podbean is not for us to do safety training like this. No, it is like a round table section. Everyone comes in. If you are interested, you give me your names, your picture. We come together. We discuss about various issues. We discussed in the past using that Podbean. We discussed various issues that we hope that we could have use opportunities of joining some other bodies, and they could work together to actually make this very successful. But I believe that we can go back to it again. Let us download that our Podbean. Let us download it. Let us join us. Will give us more information about it. Let us be there always. Let's educate ourselves. Let's talk. Let's rub minds together about health and safety. How can we promote it as an individual, as an entity, and as a group in order to have a better and a safer country for us? Thank you all for coming. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Safety World TV. Just type Safety World together, then TV. Remember to subscribe. The video is there in case in the next 10, 20 years you want to watch the video again, or you want to share the video to someone. You want someone to learn from that video that we just finished doing now. From the video,